Hi there, thank you for joining me to chat about Seeking Sister Wife. If you're a fan of the show, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and also let me know your thoughts on the episode in the comments. So the episode starts out with Garrick, Natalia, and Danielle. So they are going to go to a local clinic so they can all see the baby together. Danielle is all happy, but there are no smiles at all inside on Garrick's face or Natalia's face. Now, Garrick said he never expected another child from Danielle. And Danielle chuckled, so they were sitting on the sofa having this conversation, right? Garrick's in the middle, Natalia's on one side, Danielle's on the other side. So when he said that, Danielle chuckled and looked at Natalia and said, "Surprise!" And Natalia just gave her the blank stare, just like how Garrick was giving her the blank stare. And I feel like she is just rubbing it in her face. And especially after the whole conversation about whether it was really a surprise or not, for her to bring up surprise again, I feel like she was being a little shady. But let me know what you think about her saying that, because I'm just like, we know it's not a surprise. You're not fooling anybody. So it doesn't look like Natalia is really a willing participant in this outing, because she didn't seem like she could care less, about going, or care less about the news. So Danielle, in this segment, she actually looks really nice today. And I don't know if it's because of the baby, but, she doesn't look as odd as she usually looks. She's seems like she's kind of glowing to me a little bit. She has different color lipstick. It's more like a brownish, reddish, which I don't think I've seen on her before. She had her hair down. It didn't look all weird like she usually has it. So she just looks different today to me, but maybe those are my bad eyeballs. So Garrick says that Natalia is disappointed about the wedding, and she thought that he also said that she thought that she was late and they possibly have been pregnant. So now this is a whole nother dimension to this baby conversation. I wonder if at the point that they were going back and forth about the baby and whether it was a surprise and how she ended up getting pregnant, if this was a point in time that Natalia was feeling that she could have been pregnant. Now, that would have been something if they were both pregnant at the same time. Oh, my goodness. So Garrett goes on to say that they have been trying for a baby while Danielle had a total accident. Now. I didn't really like that. Why? He could say they have been trying for a baby, but why compare it to what happened with Danielle? This guy... Ugh. So Natalia... I don't know if Natalia is really involved in these shenanigans that Garrick is talking about, or if she's really just leading him to believe that. I mean, I hope she's not buying into all this stuff. She's an attorney. She has to be smarter than to buy what Garrick is selling, because Garrick is just a ball of confusion. So if she's playing along, it wouldn't really be a good time to have a baby, especially when they're not married as yet. It wouldn't really be a good move unless she has some plan of her own that she's, devising outside of what we're seeing. Anyway, throughout the conversation on the sofa, Danielle is the only one who's smiling. She looks to be the only one who's enjoying the conversation. She looks at him and back to Natalia with a smile on her face, saying, sometimes, things don't go as planned. And she seemed very happy. She seemed to be enjoying the fact that, things aren't going as planned, because it's a sad thing for both of them. And she's smiling. It's like her facial expressions are not going with what she's saying. She's loving the disaster that is happening right now. So Natalia says it's a good day for Danny, but it's a bad day for her. So I'm not quite sure if she's referring to, the wedding falling through, or the so-called baby thingy or pregnancy scare. Is she really wanting to be pregnant by Garrick? I hope not. So Natalia says that she's mentally tired. Meanwhile, Danielle is grinning like a Cheshire cat with her hand on Garrick's leg. And yeah, he didn't even acknowledge it. Her hand could have not been there as far as I could tell. He didn't even care. Danielle claims that she hopes Natalia would have been pregnant It seemed like she knows about the pregnancy scare. She mentioned something about Natalia being pregnant, and she says she hopes that seeing the baby on the monitor will bring them together. So next we see them there at the doctor's office. Natalia says it's a happy time for Danny and Garrick, and she's feeling a little sad because her and Garrick haven't got a chance to talk about what happened. And I'm wondering if this is when she says this, she's talking about the pregnancy scare, or is she talking about the wedding falling through? I'm not quite sure. She says she's still learning to deal with these new emotions, and she's trying to be happy for them, but at the same time she's feeling kind of sad. I'm not quite sure if she's referring to the three-way dynamic, the new feelings that she has to deal with, the dynamic between having to share, or what. She didn't really expound on that. So they saw the baby on the monitor. Danielle is getting emotional, and Garrick just stood there with a blank face. The doctor says the baby's approximately 11 weeks, and then Garrick says 10 to 11. It's almost like he's trying to reduce the age of the child, like suggesting a time frame other than what the doctor is saying. And I thought that was kind of fishy. Are you trying to cover up some lie that you might have told already? If the doctor is saying 11 weeks, why would you try to shorten the time frame? Let me know what you thought about that part. So Natalia says she feels kind of awkward. She wants to be happy for Danielle, but it's difficult for her. Danielle is on the table. She's crying and wiping tears from her face. And while she's holding Garrick's hand, and he might have been holding her arm, he is just looking off into the distance, very distant. She might not have been there as far as I could tell. He just there just to be there, but mentally not present. He doesn't look like it anyway. So next we see that they're at home. They're back at home. And we're told that Natalia's friends are coming over to celebrate that they're getting married, but there's no wedding. However, they're still proceeding with the party. Natalia said that when she first told her friends that she was in a poly relationship, that they were shocked. They were like, "What the hell? Are you crazy?" And she says now everyone supports her once they learn more about, that it's something serious and she's really doing it. One of the friends asked Danielle, when everybody arrived, one of the friends asked Danielle how her experience has been with Natalia. She says, good. And then Garrick says, good, but sad, and brings up the issues with the wedding. I thought the friend was asking how things were with Natalia, but maybe I didn't hear that right, because he's bringing up issues with the wedding. So Natalia tells them the news was so sad because she had already bought the shoes, the clothes, hired the makeup artist, the hair, the reservations for the family, and all that stuff, and now things are not moving forward. Natalia says the worst thing is, having to tell her family that things are, no longer happening. And she tells them about going to see the baby and how she was trying to be excited for them because this is the first time that Garrick was going to see the baby, and how she was trying not to ruin the moment for them. Natalia says she feels like Garrick didn't support her emotionally. They didn't really have a conversation about how she was feeling. And, there's one of her friends in particular who did pretty much most of the talking. She spoke really good English, and she was serving pretty much kind of like a translator. But she wasn't translating from Portuguese to English. She was kind of reiterating what Natalia was saying to Danielle and Garrick, which, I feel like they could make out what she was saying. And if not, what she should do is, translate from English to Portuguese. Portuguese if needed. So Garrick was just there looking with the blank stare, with his mouth in the shape of an O, like just looking. Like, say something. She's talking to you. It's your relationship. She has a concern that you're not supporting her emotionally, and you're not talking to her, giving her the support that she needs, and he's saying nothing. Of course, Danielle has to jump in. Every time, Garrick is caught in a tough spot, she has to jump in and save the day or try to justify his behavior. She says that she feels like Garrick comforted her and supported her a lot, and he even cried. And she thinks that it's new for her, for Natalia, as Garrick's attention is divided, and so she has to understand that they both have to understand that as wives. And I would have told her to butt out, because nobody was talking. No one said Danielle. Nobody was talking to her. She was talking about Garrick. And of course, Danielle jumps in. Natalia says, how much further is he going to be divided? Garrick says he can only be with one person at a time, so if there were three of them, two of the wives would need to support each other while he's not there, that they're kind of like sisters. So one of Natalia's friends asked, are you guys, do you guys feel this way? And Danielle says she wonders if Natalia feels that way, that they can have that kind of relationship. Natalia says it's going to be a slow process, that they need to build on that. And then Danielle starts to get emotional and, starting to cry, saying that, can she ask Natalia if she can open up to her more? And when she started with the crying, I could see that Natalia was trying to hold in an eye roll, like I would be rolling my eyes like, here we go. Why are you crying right now? This is not about you. Like, why are we crying? And so, she says she feels that since Garrick has been there with Natalia, that she hasn't been talking to her, she hasn't been telling her anything about the wedding, about what's going on, and that she feels shut out. Yes, you are shut out because, they're having their time. It's their moment, and she doesn't want you involved in her business. And knowing that you're being shut out, it's up to you to do what's in your best interest and not rely on Natalia to do something to please you or to make you feel better. So, it's either you go with the program, get what you can get, or stay in your lane and remove yourself. So then she's crying, and Garrick is just looking with a blank face once again. And Natalia is just looking in the ceiling, looking here, there, and everywhere, and had nothing to say. I think Natalia's just over her and her crying and her being so desperate for a relationship with somebody that she's not in a relationship with. So at this point, the friend translated back to Portuguese for Natalia about how, what Danielle was saying about how, she wants to have a better relationship. Danielle goes on to say, we're sharing a husband, so communication is very important. And then she goes on to say how she's open with her emotions and, Natalia is more reserved and she's not a crier. I don't know what that has to do with, crying. Because you cry doesn't mean that you're any more emotional than somebody else. Because if you cry unnecessarily, is that really helpful? Being a crier doesn't really mean a whole lot if it's like unnecessary and misplaced. So anyway, Natalia admits that their personalities are different, but she thinks that, with time things will get better. Then Garrick starts to talk with this trembling voice. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going to start crying again. So he's like, what I like the most is that the sisterhood. And when the sisters get together, it's the most beautiful thing. That's what I love the most about plural marriages. So he's saying how, the plural relationships, what he loves the most is the sisterhood, the bond that the wives can form when they can get together and really have a good relationship. No, that's not what you like the most, Garrick. We're not buying that. And then he goes on in his trembling voice, it's hard for me to see when they're not fully together. And do his trembling voice thingy and trying to cry and whatnot. And so basically, I feel like he's trying to guilt trip, Natalia and Danielle to be in some kind of close relationship and prepare them for when he brings in another woman. So prepare yourselves to be abandoned, basically. So you guys are going to have to stick together. When this new thing comes along, I'm going to be out of the picture. So get used to that. So seriously, I just hope nobody's falling for his trembly voice and his tears. But everyone else is just looking. There's only one friend, the one who's doing the translation, who really said much of anything, but everybody else is just looking. And Natalia tells Danielle that there's no problem between them. And so she got up and gave her a hug. And in the confessional, Danielle says that she doesn't think Natalia understands what's involved in a plural relationship and that she's operating like they're in a monogamy. So, that's her issue. Basically, Natalia just wants Garrick. And that's the problem that Danielle has with the whole situation. So later we see them, it's dusk, and we see Garrick walking down the street with a woman on each side holding hands. We're told that it's his birthday and his last night in Rio. So they go to a restaurant. Now, Natalia's English is quite good here. And in hearing how fluent one of her friends are, I just wonder if production misrepresented her fluency in English for the drama. Anyway, she said that it's difficult. It's been an emotional day, and asked Danielle how she's feeling. She says she's doing good. And she says that she understands Natalia a little bit better. Natalia goes on to say that she thinks the baby will unite them more. And so Danielle was like, that makes me happy. So Natalia says that she's happy that they were able to sort things out and she feels better now. And she says she doesn't know when she's going to see them again. She tells Garrick that she will miss him. And there he goes with the puppy dog eyes. He didn't say anything. He just looks back and forth and seemed to be conjuring up some tears again. Natalia says the long distance relationships are difficult. It's new to her, but it's normal for him. This is her first long distance relationship. So she tells Garrick that she loves him. And he tells her back. And then here goes Danielle jumping in. I love you. And Natalia laughs and awkwardly says, I love you. And then Garrick throws an I love you over his shoulder, but was just looking at, Natalia and talking to her. And in this moment, I'm like, no wonder Natalia doesn't like you. Like, why are you jumping into this moment? This is weird. She doesn't want a three-way I love you. She doesn't even want a relationship with you. So why are you expecting her to say, I love you to you? Why are you telling her you love her? Like, you guys know, she doesn't like you. Why are you jumping in with this? So this was kind of weird in my opinion. So then Natalia goes on to kiss Garrick on the lips in front of her. And he goes on to say, Danny happy, I'm happy. I'm like, why is he doing this broken toddler English? I mean, it's as simple of a sentence that he could say like he normally would, and she would understand. Like, why are you talking like Tarzan? I happy, you happy, we happy. Like, what? Ugh. Anyway, in the confessional, Danielle says she will work harder to improve her relationship with Natalia. And then back at the table, Garrick says it's their last night together. He's ready to get it on. He tells Danielle he's going to spend the night with Natalia. And Danielle's like, of course. Really? Fake enthusiasm like she doesn't mind. So poor Danielle. She got no kisses at dinner. Garrick was mostly talking to Natalia. She only got a cursory I love you over the shoulder. And that was only because she jumped into the mix. And he said he would have preferred to have a baby with Natalia than her. So I just don't understand why she's putting herself through this. It's like she's a glutton for punishment and mistreatment, and I just don't get it. So Naeem and Nailah are meeting up with a friend of theirs at a restaurant to talk to their mom. Well, his mom. So their friend, her name is Jahari. So she meets them at their place, and then they're going to meet mom at the restaurant. So we're told that Jahari is in a polygamous relationship. She met them through some poly website, and she is in a relationship with a couple. And so I guess now that they're on the show, they're going to meet their friends. They're meeting their friends in real life because all of a sudden now there's a bunch of poly friends. Last week we met, what was his name? Was it Michael and Shamir? And then now we're meeting Jahari. So she says that, they met through the poly website. She says that they had talked online and they had met up to eat and that they just clicked. So I don't know if this is the second meeting, but anyway, Jahari says that she's into polyamory. So she is in a relationship with a couple, and she has a relationship with both the woman and the man. And so she says she's bisexual. So her relationship is different from Nailah's, as she wouldn't be dating both partners in the relationship. So she goes to their place, meet up, and they head to the restaurant. So when they get to the restaurant, they sit outside on the patio, and they're waiting for his mom, Jamila, to arrive. And Naeem was like, oh, Godzilla's coming. And he kind of joked it off, which, When he said that, sometimes people joke, but the choice of words in the joke make you wonder, like, if there's something really going on. Because why would you call your mom Godzilla? To me, it seems like he's trying to portray her as being scary and difficult and a black cloud, even though he was trying to pass it off as a joke. So he kind of joked it off, but Jahiri, is that her name? Jahari. She says that, they told her that Jamila was no nonsense and that she's not into the poly thing. So basically, I guess they're having dinner with her or lunch with her and bringing their mom there so her mom can have a different perspective on this poly lifestyle. Now, when her mom gets there, it doesn't seem like she knew that this third person or fourth person was going to be there. So she was kind of confused as far as who this person is, because she thought that this was their new potential sister wife. And so Naeem was like, this is their friend. And she's like, oh, is this such and such? Is this supposed to be your? They're like, no, it's just a friend. So she said that, if this was the potential sister wife, she would have left. So Jahari told her that, they have a poly lifestyle as well. He goes on to tell, Naeem tells the mom that Jahari is in a relationship with a couple, and she was like, oh, Lord. Mom says she doesn't care what other people do, basically, that she cares about what her son does, and she doesn't want her son in that lifestyle, which I feel like that is not her choice to make, because this man is close to being 50. You can choose to be around him or not be around him, but as far as trying to mandate what kind of relationship he's in, I don't think that she can do that, and I think that's kind of unreasonable, which kind of, seems to be a part of the problem between them. So Jahari says this is exactly how her mom felt until, they met her partners. So she goes on to explain her relationship, and mom was like, oh, I saw something like that on TV. But Naeem jumps in and tell her that Jahari is bisexual, and she was like, oh. So she asks if, they sleep in the same bed and all that. And then Nailah jumps in and says, yeah, they, if they had a sister wife, they would be sleeping in the same bed. And her mom says, if I come over, please don't do that, which is a departure from what she had said before, because she had said that if they have a sister wife over there, she's not coming over. So I don't know. Did she change her mind about going over when the sister wife is over there? Because what would it matter if they sleep in the same bed when they find a wife? Nailah says that she doesn't want to sleep away from her husband, so if they do find a sister wife, they have to sleep in the same bed. And Naeem seems to be game for that, because he says, I don't know, we're still figuring that out. And I'm like, you want your little boom boom room like the Davises. It doesn't seem like you want the wife to be there. And of course, Nailah seems to be insecure because she was wanting to be having other people in the relationship, but at the same time, she wants to control everything, and that person can't have a single private moment with her husband. Then why are you doing it? It doesn't seem like this is her idea to me. She seems to be very, very hands-on, and wants to take the reins of everything and control everything and have to be there and have to know what's going on, which it doesn't seem to be that's what Naeem is looking for. He wants a little room to do his thing. So Jahari tells mom, Jamila, that it's all about love. It's not just a sexual thing. It's about community. Mom says it's not just, it's not just them. They, it's not just him. There's kids involved. And I don't know if I missed this before, because I didn't know that they had children. I guess based on their age, you would assume that they might have had children, but I don't remember catching that. So apparently they have a 14-year-old daughter who still lives with them. Nailah had mentioned that she's been a mom for 30 years, so potentially maybe there's another child, but maybe that child is not living at home. So mom says that she had said that from the beginning, but Naeem and Nailah claim that her excuse keeps changing, because at first she was saying, oh, polygamy, that's nasty and germy and people doing this and that, and then now she's saying the reason that she's concerned is because of kids being involved. So I guess I can see that, because that wasn't the initial reason that they gave when she gave us why she was resistant to this at the start of the show. So they're saying her reasons keep on changing. She tells them that they can do whatever they want, just leave the daughter out of it, which I didn't really catch her name. So they say they will, they will listen to the daughter's concerns, but they're not going to let her make the decision for them. But in the confessional, Nailah and Naeem went on to say that their daughter and her grandma do not have a relationship. I was like, ooh. We have been sensing some tension especially between Naeem and Jamila since the beginning. But now we're starting to see that things are not good between them, not as good as they're trying to portray, in the scenes. Because he says that she just has a 5-minute phone call here and there. And Nailah says in the conversation at the restaurant that she's been a mom for 30 years when they were talking about when Jamila had brought up the issue with the child. Nailah says, Naeem has also said that she makes it seem like, she's like concerned about the child, or the relationship with the child is better than what it is. So Nailah says that Jamila assumed that their daughter will have a problem with polygamy. And she says, have you asked her? And she says, Jamila keeps making assumptions, but hasn't talked to the daughter, and she says that you're making assumptions, but we have talked to her. So who's making an ass out of themselves? You, which I didn't like that. And mom didn't like that either. Jamila says that she's, tells her she's being disrespectful, and they're arguing back and forth. And Nailah asked her when was the last time she talked to her granddaughter. And I was like, oh, snap, there it is. There seems to be tension going on, not just between them two, but also the fact that she's not a good grandma to the daughter, and then now she's the granddaughter, and then now she's acting as if she's so concerned when behind the scenes she might not be, very present for the granddaughter. So there's definitely tension there now. And so they're having very strong opinions. She's having strong opinions, but, the relationship is not there, I guess. Is there a point for her to have such a strong opinion? But why bring this up, though, in front of this stranger? They're having this whole argument back and forth as if Jahari's not there. And that is embarrassing. There's no reason that all this should be going on with this person that she's never met before and talking about the family dynamics. So mom tells Nailah she's being very disrespectful, which I agree. And maybe I'm just old school, but I just feel like, you just don't talk to elders this way. And Naeem just sat there and didn't say anything. And, they claim that they don't care if she likes the lifestyle, but it gets so heated because she doesn't like the lifestyle to the point of disrespect. And why bring up the relationship with the granddaughter? I just didn't like how this kind of went down. There was no reason. Yes, you can have a difference of opinion, but it seems like they bring this lady there to try to change Jamila's mind about how she sees polygamy, which I don't feel that's necessary. If you didn't really care, then let her do her thing. There's no reason to, fracture the relationship any further because of that, and trying to convince her of what she has her convictions about. So Jamila says, she's not going to talk to her again unless she apologizes. And then Naeem says, oh, you know how many things you have to apologize to her for? Like she's saying that, Jamila has wronged Nailah in the past and owes her plenty of apologies. So she got up, and this is where things kind of escalate. Nailah says, so you're walking out the door, huh? And Jamila says, yeah, and I'm going to walk over there and, she suggests assault. I'm like, Mom. So, yeah, this is kind of where things kind of went left because she kind of threatened violence. And Nailah got really angry, and she was like, so what do you think's going to happen after that, huh? She springs up out her chair, and she was pointing her finger, and she kept saying, so what do you think's going to happen, huh? What do you think's going to happen? What do you think you're going to do? What do you think's going to happen when you do that? And so then we see Mom taking off her sweater. I don't know if she got hot or she was going to, try to go over there or what was happening, but Naeem was still sitting down. And we can hear Jahari saying, come on now, we don't do this. And then when she was taking off her sweater, Naeem was like asking her mom, like, what are you doing, Mom? Mom, what are you doing? but he was still sitting down. Then we see a member of the staff open the door to come outside because they were on the patio. And of course, things got kind of escalated. It's not like they were being quiet anymore. And eventually, Jamila went inside. She went inside. I guess she left the, I don't know. She came to the patio from outside, but then she went inside. I don't know if maybe she went to use the bathroom or something. And as she was leaving, we see the caption on the screen that she was saying something about whooping somebody's butt. But anyway, Jahari keeps telling Nailah, we don't do that. We don't do that, because she's saying, she's still angry. And as she's leaving, Jahari decided to gulp down the rest of her drink because she's like, oh, this was rough. She needed that drink. She says that, they clearly have issues that they need to work on. And, Polly and mom might not be able to coexist. And yeah, I don't care what mom said. It's just words. But the way Nailah got really hostile, I just didn't like that. I just feel like she was being disrespectful, and to an elder, I just didn't like that, especially an older woman. Like, some elderly man can be threatening because of, their physical stature and whatnot. So it's possible that you could feel threatened by an older man, and maybe you might need to, throw your weight around, or, defend yourself verbally or whatever. But I feel like there was no need for this to escalate the way it did. Now, given how long, I can't remember how long Naeem and Nailah have been married, but given how long that they've been married, I just wonder how many times things have gotten like this. And I noticed that Naeem, did not move at all. And I don't know if it's because he felt like mom wasn't going to do anything, or because he just didn't care, or because mom has done stuff in the past where he's still mad at her about. But I kind of lost some respect for well, not that I had respect for him anyway, but I kind of didn't like the fact that his wife was so threatening towards his mom, and he just sat there. They seem to have a really, well, I don't know, I want to say really bad. It seems like they don't have a good relationship behind the scene. But regardless, this whole scene was just uncalled for and very embarrassing. Finally, the Davis family. So today, the wives are going to meet this lady named Jasmine at a restaurant. We're told that they're the ones who do the vetting of the potential sister wife before they bring that person to Nick. So we meet Jasmine. She has met them online. She's 30, and she says she's looking for a situation kind of like this one, and she feels like it would be a stable environment for her son. She kind of reminds me a little bit of Sarah, who Ashley's dating. Let me know if you see any resemblance or if it's just me. But anyway, so she arrives and they like her. She's fun. She's easygoing, and so they're playing a game. Looks like, what's that game called? It's a game where you remove the blocks. The name is slipping my mind. But anyway, so they decide every time a person takes a block out, then they would get a chance to ask a question. So she goes first, and so was she the one who went first? Yeah, she asked what drew them to this kind of lifestyle, this type of relationship. And Jennifer answered, and she says that, stability and sense of security, but the other wives didn't really say anything. So we find out that she has an 11-year-old, I think she has a son. And they asked her if she would like more kids, and she says actually she loves being pregnant, and she wants to have more kids. She says she would populate the whole whatever if they wanted her to. So she's open to having more children, which Danielle likes because she feels like she wants Will and Vera to have more siblings. So Danielle asked her how she feels about sharing a bed with 4 other people, and she said she was okay with that. And she joked about, her hugging the covers, not to put her on the end. April asked her how she feels about the women working and Nick staying home. And Jasmine mentions that her family was kind of a non-traditional family because the men stay home. Her dad stayed home with the children. She mentioned her dad working overnight, and so he was home with the children, and then her mom works during the day. And it seems she said something about her mom making more or something like that. So, but she felt like in their family, they felt like the men were stronger, and so they were, more responsible for taking care of the children. So Jasmine asked what was the hardest thing about the lifestyle, which Danielle had answered. The wives wanted her to take a lead and be more involved. She didn't really answer. Well, I guess she kind of answered. She mentioned that you can't be complacent, and she mentions having to deal with other people's opinions. It wasn't really a clear answer, but okay. So Jennifer asked how she feels about jealousy. Jasmine says that she's really mellow. She doesn't really, think about anything that really makes her jealous. She kind of goes with the flow. Danielle says she wonders about her being so agreeable that it might be a red flag. They asked her how she feels about going on a date with Nick, which she agreed. She says that, eventually she had to leave for work, but she says that she likes them. She's optimistic about meeting Nick. The wife says they have a good feeling about her, but Danielle voiced to the other two that, with having a potential, no, Danielle says with having another sister wife, that kind of, that's having somebody else into the group, that will kind of change the dynamic. She also says she wonders about, Jasmine being so agreeable, but she thinks that Nick would like her. So later they make it back home, and Nick mentions that, the wives have to vet the potential sister wives before bringing them to him. And he says he hasn't met Jasmine, but he's seen a picture of her, and he's very pleased with what he sees. So they got home, and they tell him that they think that he would like her. Danielle tells him that she has a playful personality. She's fun and easygoing. April says she's worried about the beginning stages of bringing in somebody new, and Danielle goes on to tell him that, they were sitting on the bed, all of them on their massive bed. And Danielle says she thinks everything felt natural, but she's a little bit concerned because she's the one who has to marry this person. I don't think she said that to them. She said that in the confessional, which is crazy because she keeps having these concerns and they keep asking her, but she's not saying it to them. But she will mention being worried about this thing or concerned about this in the confessional. But she's just nodding and going along when she's in the group with them. So Nick is just grinning from ear to ear because he's so ready to meet this person. He likes what he sees in the pictures, so he's ready for the date. But he says he wants to make sure that things are moving at a pace that's comfortable for everyone, and meaning Danielle. And Danielle says, she wants to give it a chance. April is concerned about whether Danielle is truly comfortable with bringing in another wife. She even asked her again, are you sure? And, she's agreeing. But in her confessional, she says, she doesn't want to go against the grain. She doesn't really want to be the one to say there's a problem when everybody's so excited. So, she has to make up her mind. Like, do you really want this or not? Like, you're saying all the right things in front of them, but then you're expressing concerns and reservations in the confessional. So anyway, everybody's excited about Jasmine. And so, yeah, the next step is for her to have a date with Nick. Everybody seems to like her. But I just wonder at what point Danielle is going to really state her true feelings. Like, she's not even agreeing with everything, but I don't know if she's really there. She might get to the point of having to marry this person and then change her mind, but which wouldn't be good. It's best to let people know ahead of time before, bringing and putting them through that. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, that's all for the episode. Please like, comment, and subscribe.